Joining us right now is Trump presidential campaign national spokesperson Katrina Pierson. Katrina, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning.
So what do you think about that? I mean, it's true that Donald Trump became so popular and resonated with so many people because he wasn't your traditional presidential. If he changes that, is that going to mean fewer crowds and fewer sort of rallying around him?
No, not at all. What Mr. Trump is talking about, he's still going to be Mr. Trump. I mean, you've seen his rallies. He's one-on-one with his supporters. He loves them. They love him. And that's what you're going to continue to see more of. We're talking about being more presidential, is getting more involved with some of the policies, giving more policy discussions. Again, Mr. Trump is the only candidate in the race that has been the most accessible to the media, that has sat down with newspapers for hundreds of minutes talking about foreign policy, unlike any other candidate. But he really wants to take that to the mainstream now as we transition into a general election campaign. Yeah, but I guess what I'm getting at, Katrina, is there has been a change in tone from Donald Trump over the last couple of weeks. And we know he's made some new hires and changing the campaign staff around. Paul Manafort is being called a game changer. Is that what you're feeling from inside the campaign? Is there a different sentiment right now with the staff changes? Well, we're growing, and I think that is really exciting. And bringing on a convention manager, particularly after we've seen what's been happening in some of the caucuses, has been very helpful. And it is exciting to bring on more staff. I mean, we were one of the smallest staff as the presidential race began. And so I do think there is a different tone, particularly now, going from 16 candidates down to now 3, essentially 2. So you should expect the tone to change because Mr. Trump is no longer fighting dozens of people as well as lobbyists and special interests. And as we've seen with the election in New York, that was a big blow to the Never Trump movement.
Katrina, hey, it's Kevin. So there's nothing more presidential than starting to talk about vice presidential nominees. And so he had mentioned Ben Carson. Is he going to come up with a nominee that he can help bridge the divide to start getting the middle and the left? Because his unfavorable numbers are almost at an all-time high for him at 65%.
Well, absolutely. Mr. Trump is taking that into consideration, and he has talked about several people that he actually would consider doing that. He has made known now for at least the last 4 months that he wants to unify the party in going against Hillary Clinton, and a vice presidential pick is going to help in that direction. But with regards to his unfavorables, I mean, this is something that Mr. Trump began with. He was underwater at the beginning, and he was able to close that gap in the Republican primary in about 3 months. But I think Mr. Trump is going to do really well in the general election because we are not going to be fighting 17 other candidates. It's just going to be Hillary Clinton and the left, and we'll be able to knock those down rather quickly.
Katrina, how comfortable is Donald making speeches off a teleprompter and giving speeches that he not spitballing and doing it from shooting from the hip, but giving speeches who are written by somebody else potentially?
Well, I think the first glimpse we saw was the AIPAC speech, which went over really well. I was so proud of him, and everyone was so excited to see him give a prepared speech. I mean, that's not something that everyone does, particularly a first-time politician. And I think he enjoyed it, and you can see from his appearance on the stage, I think he really enjoyed it, the crowd enjoyed it, the viewers enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to giving more of that Donald Trump to the public.
I want to get your reaction to the RNC meetings yesterday, Katrina, because the committee blocked any rule changes to the convention process for now out of that meeting. What's your takeaway?
Well, we've actually supported no changes to the rule block, and it's essentially a big loss for John Kasich because that essentially eliminates him from being a contender, as well as Senator Cruz, because he has not won the number of states required to achieve that nomination. Caucuses do not count, so we're very thrilled that the RNC has decided to block the rules, rule changes at least at this point. Mr. Trump is the front runner at this point. He is the only candidate that has won the most contests. He's won the most delegates. He has the broadest base of support. He's won in the Northeast, the South, the West. He beat Senator Cruz with Hispanics in Arizona, Nevada, Florida, and New York. Mr. Trump is the Republican nominee, and it's time to come together around him.
Here's Jack Otter.
So, Katrina, I guess I want to go back to this negative point. Obviously, the key for, as this campaign goes on, for you is going to be to try to broaden the Trump base. Obviously, his core supporters really love him, but how do you broaden that base? How do you take the doubters and convince them that Donald Trump is really the guy?
Well, I think once Hillary Clinton is crowned with the nomination, a lot of that's going to take place on its own. Mr. Trump is very committed to this country and to the people of this country. And when it's all said and done and both nominees are hitting the ground running, Republicans will come around to that because there are stark contrasts between Donald Trump's policies and Hillary Clinton's policies with regard to the economy, with regard to immigration. And I think once we get to that point, you're going to see a lot of people come around because at the end of the day, we have to win in November. We have to stop Hillary Clinton. And the only way to do that is to come together.
Let me ask you, Katrina, we all know Donald's famous Make America Great Again hats. They're, you know, real popular. Ted Cruz came out with his own hats. Cruz is putting out Make PC Great Again. Okay. Taking a shot at Donald Trump because of his opposition to the controversial bathroom law in North Carolina. What do you make of these hats? Make PC Great Again.
Well, I thought he was just trying to boost his support and donations. To me, it was make Princeton Canadians great again. But it is something that I do think would benefit Donald Trump, simply because there was no PC involved in Mr. Trump's statements. Mr. Trump actually supported the constitutional side of the argument. So if Senator Cruz wants to capitalize and copy once again what Donald Trump is doing, let him have at it.
Make PC great again, Dagan.
Princeton Canadians. That was funny, Katrina. That was funny.
That was a good one. I don't know.
Again, if you're going to come up with a slogan, at least have it make sense, because that hat doesn't make any sense.
I know. Well, remember when Hillary said, we have to make the country whole again?
Yeah, that went over.
That was another one that tried to copy Donald Trump, but didn't actually make a lot of sense.
No, and people give money to candidates because they want them to win and think they can win, not because they have some cute slogan on a hat, even though Donald's hats are pretty rocking.
Yeah, and speaking of that, Katrina,
really cute, it worked, but this doesn't make sense.
Make PC great.
How are individual contributions going for Donald Trump? Or is he getting, I mean, because we're seeing Bernie Sanders take like 7 million individual ones. How is it going for Donald Trump on that side?
I haven't seen the latest numbers, but Mr. Trump has been in the headlines before, that Mr. Trump is receiving a lot of contributions, and people do buy those hats. And we're just really excited to have a lot of that grassroots support that's out there, and really have been able to bring it home with Mr. Trump's message of putting America and Americans' families first. That's something that has been missing in the political sphere, particularly on the Republican side, when we've had such a platform that has been pro-America, but we've had Republicans in charge for decades who really haven't governed accordingly, which has led to some of the frustration on the Republican grassroots side. And Mr. Trump is a candidate now that has given voice to that. He's taken action on that. He has plans in place to improve that.
So how much has he made from those hats so far? Do you know?
I do not have an exact number, but it has been a lot. We'll just say it's been a huge success.
Huge. All right, Katrina. Thanks so much.
Huge.
Good to see you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katrina.
Great
Katrina
to see you
Pierson
guys.
there
Have a great
from
day.
the Donald Trump campaign.